Before we get started, I want to thank our first partner, Response Ready Medical. Response Ready Medical, bringing our customers the best quality training and equipment for the worst case scenario. Response Ready Medical's vision is to be the leading provider of emergency preparedness solutions across the United States, empowering communities, organizations, and individuals to respond confidently and preserve life during critical moments. Offering same-day certification, all Response Ready Medical classes are instructed by nationally registered and state-licensed firefighter, paramedics, law enforcement officers, and hospital staff. Classes currently being offered by Response Ready Medical include CPR and AED, CPR, AED, and first aid, emergency trauma care, child and babysitting safety, CABS, backcountry medicine, and wilderness first aid. Your premium partner in emergency preparedness, Response Ready Medical. Welcome to the Pursuing Freedom Outdoors podcast, a place where backcountry warriors can share their stories of grit, service, healing, and wilderness adventures. I'm your host, Tom Walton, Marine Corps veteran, full-time cop, and aspiring hunting and fishing guide. Join me and others as we journey from the hood to the woods in pursuit of freedom in the outdoors.
All right, everybody, before we get started with this week's episode, I just want to give you a little disclaimer that I actually broke up my chat with Trevor into two parts just because, one, it went a little long, and two, the conversation actually divides really well into part one, which is going to be a lot about Trevor's background, service, career in the outdoor riding industry, and a lot of explanation on how to get involved in the outdoor industry and what it takes to be an outdoor rider in today's world. And then our second part of the conversation, which we'll release next week, is going to be about the Mule Deer Foundation, Blacktail Deer Foundation, and most importantly, I think something everybody will be interested in is the future of mule deer, what's happening with mule deer right now. It's a good conversation for both of these episodes, but so when this one ends abruptly, you'll know why. Again, we broke it up into two parts, so appreciate everybody for listening, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you. All right. Welcome to the Pursuing Freedom Outdoors podcast. I am joined today by my good friend, Trevor Hubbs. Trevor is a U.S. Army veteran, conservationist, and storyteller who serves as the marketing and communications manager for both the Mule Deer Foundation and the Blacktail Deer Foundation. He's also the editor-in-chief of the Mule Deer and Blacktail Deer magazines and the host of the Mule Deer Foundation podcast, where he highlights the people, places, and projects shaping deer conservation across the West. Trevor's writing has appeared in Fur Fish Game, the Backcountry Journal, Shooting Sportsman, Tom Beckby Field Journal, Fly Fisherman, and other leading outdoor publications. Before his current role, he built and led the Armed Forces Initiative for the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, connecting military service members and veterans to the healing power of the outdoors. With a background that blends military service, nonprofit leadership, and award-winning outdoor media, Trevor brings a unique perspective on wildlife, public lands, and America's hunting heritage. Welcome to the show, brother, and thanks for taking time to chat.
No, thanks for having me on. That's a long intro. I need to shorten that thing up. Sorry about that.
Hey, you know what? I think it just speaks volumes to what you've done, because since I've met you, you've changed roles a couple of times and done a lot, so I didn't think it was too long. Otherwise, I would have done some editing to it myself. So
okay, yeah.
But yeah, man. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to dive into some of the roles and stuff that you've done throughout your careers. But definitely excited for you with what you're doing with the Mule Deer Foundation, Blacktail Deer Foundation. But before we get to that, because that's kind of what you got going on now. We typically like to hear about your history, and we'll start with hunting and fishing. Obviously, this is a very outdoor-focused show, so just get right into it, man. How did you get started hunting and fishing?
Yeah, so, I grew up in kind of like the eastern end of the Ozarks, right at the tail end of when trapping was still a thing, so I had a couple uncles that worked construction, and the thing to do at the time was to get yourself laid off for the winter and spend 6 months trapping, because you could make more money doing that than you could work in construction. So I'd go on trap lines for muskrat, mink, looking for beaver, a lot of coons, a lot of possums, a little bit of fox, things like that. Went on my first duck hunt when I was 11, I want to say, whenever you're legally allowed to. I think that's 11 or 12. But yeah, and then after that, I got a job training. They call it gun dog training, but really I was just like feeding, watering, doing the grunt work for a local duck club for all their host of retrievers. And yeah, I got into Western hunting when I got out of the military, because I was looking at getting a non-resident tag, because I was still a resident elsewhere, getting a non-resident tag, and it was like $500. And my buddy was like, "Oh, we can go hunt elk for $500." And I was like, "Deal. Instead of hunting whitetail at home, let's go hunt elk. Do something new. Costs the same." So I've been doing that for like a decade now, going west almost every year, and yeah, here I am.
That's awesome, man. It's funny because you have like a history of hunting so many different things, and sometimes I'm like, oh, Trevor's like passion is waterfowl. I don't know, maybe Trevor's passion is trapping, maybe Trevor's passion is fly fishing, and I don't know. I personally don't think I'm locked down to just one passion, but what's kind of your go-to thing when you're like, all right, man, I just want to zone out and relax, or whether zone out or just focus on what you're doing, but what's like the thing that you look forward to most? What season or hunt or fishing trip even?
Yeah, I think about this a lot, because I have the same issues. You end up generating like, oh, I have some duck hunting friends, and then here's some like quail hunting friends, and then these are my big game folks out west, and then like these are the folks that like to do Alaska. And I think for me, it's more about where I'm at. Like whether it's antelope or mule deer or upland birds, I like to spend time in the prairie. Whether it's for blacktail deer or caribou or salmon, I like to go to Alaska. That's fun. Like I get in the mood for places, and not so much for species, I guess, is what drives me. Like sometimes I just really want to smell the marsh, and the best way to do that is to go duck hunting.
I love it. That's awesome. I could kind of resonate with that, because some of my hunts lately have just been based on like, dude, I really want to go hunting off of a river. So we're just going to hunt what's there. That's fantastic. Well, good deal. So you grew up hunting and fishing. Obviously, you're still hunting and fishing, and you told us you're in the military. It's in your bio. So I definitely want to hear a lot about your service history, which I don't know if you and I have really spent a lot of time when we've hung out talking about your service. I mean, I know you're in the Army and a little bit about what you did. But yeah, why don't you talk about what you did in the military?
No, yeah. So I mean, I decided to join the Army when I was in 6th grade after 9/11. And at the time, it was one of those things. I've talked about this with a couple other buddies, where small town, rural community, like everybody was joining the Army after 9/11. Like 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, high schoolers were trying to talk about we're trying to leave high school early, and people were dropping out of college. Like that's the thing you were doing. And then I still had, however old you are in 6th grade, 10, 11, I don't know, whatever the normal age is. So you have 8 years before you can join, and by the time that 8 years happened, it was just me joining. Everybody else who was so gung ho to join, like somehow lost that idea through high school. But yeah, so I joined the Army at 18 years old. Joined the Army infantry, and then I qualified for airborne school when I was in basic training. So I was an airborne infantryman. Spent a little bit of time active duty. Ended up transferring to the National Guard when I took a teaching position to finish out my service as a ROTC instructor at Eastern Illinois University, which I highly recommend any active duty folks. Like, I remember at the time, people were like, oh, nobody wants to go do that. Like, you either want to go be a drill sergeant or you want to be a recruiter and make a bunch of money. And nobody wanted to do ROTC. I didn't want to do it at the time, but got sent there, and I had a really positive experience kind of putting to use those years being enlisted to help kind of mentor and groom the next generation of officers. And I still talk to a lot of people that were my cadets before. I was talking to one earlier today. Also, it got my undergraduate for free from Eastern Illinois University, which isn't a great school, but it is a school. and I didn't have to use my GI Bill, which meant I could use that stuff for my master's degree later and set me up really well for civilian life. But yeah, I was in the Army for 9 years, 8 years, 9 years, something like that. I don't know whether we include the inactive reserve time. I normally don't, but yeah, that was me.
Awesome. Did you go overseas at all, or did I miss that in your answer?
No, yeah, we went a couple times. We did some peacekeeping stuff. Missed Iraq though. The unit when I first showed up to the unit, they were coming back from Iraq. So, and then I was primarily during the Obama administration, which was a different war than the Bush administration, and
Right.
then subsequently the Trump administration, different rules. But and then spent some time doing some like natural disaster relief stuff when I was in the National Guard, which was cool. But nothing like from what I know of you talking about. Like I was very relaxed infantry. You were a machine gunner in the Marine Corps. You had
Yeah.
real things to do.
Well, I tell people all the time, like my career was pretty lackluster compared to most. My law enforcement
I
career.
feel like
has
we
been-
all feel like that though.
True.
Like, you hang out with veterans enough, and it's like you feel really cool for about 10 minutes, and then you run into somebody that's like, "Oh shit, that guy's cool," and then that guy's cool, and that guy's cool, and that guy's even cooler, and I don't know.
Yeah. That's pretty much sums up how I feel when I hang out with other veterans. It's like, oh man, like you guys did real service, and yeah, like my law enforcement career has been way more wild ride than my infantry career in the Marine Corps, which is kind of crazy because, like you, I was in during wartime. But it is what it is, man, and the basis of it, pretty much everybody, hopefully the most folks, sign up with service in their heart, that they want to go serve their country.
Mhm.
And the greater good, right? I think when you stand there and you take that oath, that's usually what's going on in your mind. And you alluded to 9/11 happening when you were in sixth grade. I was a younger guy too. I think I was in eighth grade. Well, I know I was in eighth grade because I'll never forget the day. But I was in eighth
Yeah.
grade when it happened. And like Sean and I talked on the second episode of the podcast, and he was in the Navy when 9/11 happened and could remember that day like by the hour. But I don't know if 9/11 was your main influence, but kind of what was it, knowing, especially joining the infantry airborne, you kind of know there's a chance that you're gonna go to war, face some pretty dangerous stuff. And I mean, sounds cheesy, but even the training's dangerous, right? Like more military members die in training than combat. But
Mhm.
knowing the dangers, what was it that drove you to service?
So I mean, up until 9/11, I guess I wanted to be like a biologist type dude, like wanted to do something outdoors, wanted to go, I don't know, study deer. And at the time, what's it called? Sharks were really cool. Sixth grade, sharks are cool. So I wanted to do something with that. And then just got all kind of flipped. Like it's like, all right, I'm in my sixth grade brain, like America doesn't need a scientist right now. America needs a soldier. So I'm gonna go do that. And started reading different books. And then when I was in eighth grade, I think I saw Band of Brothers, which is all about the Army Airborne. And I was like, yep, that's what we're doing. That sounds awesome. So, yeah, did that. And then like the recruiters, they try and talk you out of it. And they're like, oh, no, you should go be a truck driver. We have $50,000 bonuses or whatever it was at the time. And, oh, well, you could be military intelligence, or, you could be an MP and then go be a cop when you got out. No offense. And I was like, no, I don't want to do any of that. I want to jump out of planes and shoot guns, man. And I was like, everybody was a little like, it's in the infantry and the Army, you either have people that don't want to do anything else, or you have people that couldn't do anything else, right? Like, and that's an interesting dynamic. But one of the biggest influences specifically for the airborne is the 82nd Airborne on 9/11. Well, so at any time, they have one brigade that is all their quick reaction force for the world. So I'm gonna get this wrong, but it was something crazy. Like 42 minutes after the first plane hit, you had 1,200 paratroopers on a plane, weapons, everything outfitted, engines running, waiting to drop anywhere in the world. Pretty secure feeling, just as a country. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to jump out of planes. Wanted to do all the stuff. Plus, the more I saw of the regular Army, I mean, no offense, but it's one of those like everybody's in danger all the time. Somehow it made sense to me that you're in less danger when you're around other people that are super highly qualified than you would be in a relatively safer job with less qualified people. Like, I mean, there's some great truck drivers out there. No, the Army needs truck drivers, but if I'm gonna get in a firefight, I want to get in a firefight with other airborne paratroopers. I don't want to get in a firefight with a bunch of truck drivers.
Hey man, I don't, I hope no one takes offense to that. I actually agree with you.
Yeah.
And because it's not taken away from anybody. And I think it's really well said and exactly a great reason to want to be a part of a unit like that. And, that's exactly why I joined the SWAT team. Right. I'm like, man, Aaron, not necessarily why I joined the SWAT team. There's a lot of reasons why I wanted to be a SWAT officer, but when my wife is like, wasn't that really dangerous? Or any family or friends like, that's just so dangerous. I'm like, you know what? Like, I feel safer on a SWAT mission with a bunch of dudes that train really, really hard and care a whole heck of a lot. And then we have all this really great equipment to keep us safe and these tools. Like, that's probably the safest part of my job is hanging out with the SWAT team. I mean, obviously it has its moments, but, yeah, I mean, patrol, you ain't got none of that. Sometimes you're just by yourself.
Mhm.
So, and it's not that patrolmen that aren't SWAT aren't awesome and can't be exceptionally capable guys. It's not everybody's calling, but so that's kind of the way I justify it to the family sometimes. Like, hey, I'm the safest when I'm with my brothers. So that's
absolutely. I had one of my first bosses described. He described it this way, and I always repeat him. And it's so imagine a pair of dice, and he was a gambling dude, which totally fine. But imagine a set of dice, and every time you roll a 1, you're gonna die. When you start basic training, you got like 2 6s, and the rest of those sides are all 1s. And the more you train, the more 1s could disappear off those dice. You're always gonna have at least 1 1. Like there's always a chance that it's not gonna go right for you. But the more you train, the better people you surround yourself with, the less of a chance that is. The less of a chance you roll a 1. And that's how he described it, and that's kind of always stuck with me.
I like it. That's awesome, man. Well, Trevor, thanks for your service, man, to the nation. That's it's a very selfless thing that a lot of people have done, but it's still only like 1% of the nation, and people get to rest easy at night because there's rough men standing at the ready. So appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, buddy.
You kind of said you grew up in the Ozarks. Do you mind if I ask you what state you was that? Like Missouri or Arkansas?
Yeah, so I was born in Southern Illinois, which is the farthest eastern end of the Ozarks. And then when my parents got divorced, my dad moved to Camdenton, so I went and lived with him, which is kind of like the northeastern Ozarks in Missouri. So I spent a little bit of time all over, and that was our big out-of-state hunting trip growing up, was going to northern Arkansas, because you could shoot 5 deer there, and you could shoot hogs and things that at the time weren't in Missouri. So that was like the big, everybody looked forward to that, as, oh, we're going to do a week of deer camp across the border in Arkansas, and you drive 90 minutes south, and it felt like you were in the Wild West, but really we're in the exact same woods with the exact same trees with just more deer and more pigs.
Hey, that's cool, though. I love Northwest Arkansas. It's a beautiful area.
Yeah.
I know you recently purchased some ground back in that area or something, because I know I saw you were like,
Yes,
back
sir.
to my roots. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
got to feel kind of good.
It does. I'm heading down there tomorrow evening. We're doing a little bit of deer season prep because our season hasn't started yet. Yeah, about 120 acres just west of a little town called Potosi, Missouri. Really cool. I mean, you guys out west are going to laugh when I say it has a lot of topography, but it does. I mean, it goes from like 600 feet to 1,100 feet across the property. Those are not really elevations. I recognize that. But for the area, it's pretty dynamic. It's we got caves. We got little like ravines. There's 4 creeks on the property. Looks like there's a ton of turkeys running trail cams. Fair amount of whitetail, but it really won't shine the way I want it to for like 4 or 5 years, I think. So I got a lot of work to do until it's the way I want it.
Gotcha. So Mule Deer Foundation man is running a management program on his property for whitetails.
Yeah, doing my best. It's I mean, you run into mule deer in Missouri every now and then. I think last year there were 8 mule deer killed in the state of Missouri.
Right.
But it's very much like young bucks trying to move east and just looking for lady deer in that time of year. Yeah, I mean, so I'm surrounded on 4 sides. The new property is surrounded on 4 sides with the Mark Twain National Forest, a lot of very mature timber. So it's a lot of the stuff we do at the Mule Deer Foundation anyway. as far as just forest management, I'm just applying it to the eastern deciduous forest versus the western pine based forest. So
That's great, man.
we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Heck yeah. No, that's awesome. I love it. That it's cool when people can manage a piece of ground and
Mhm.
for wildlife. I try to do that with a little bit of land I have here in Idaho. Manage a little sanctuary. If I hunt it or not, it's a whole I don't know, but I have. Some years I don't, but I just like knowing there's wildlife hanging out on my property and that they can go chill there. So,
Oh, absolutely. It's like I've run into quail out there. I've got a fair amount of bobcats and coyotes that I'm gonna put some traps out for this winter, and had a really fun turkey season. Put about 10 dudes on turkeys, and then I didn't get one myself, which is the first year for that in a long time. The but no, it's a really cool piece of property. There's an old moonshine shack on there. So if you follow me on Instagram or whatever, you'll see I'm posting about like hashtag Shine Shack. It's it's pretty interesting. It's like post Civil War, like somebody like bunch of bottles everywhere, a little still, like a little building. My goal this year is to shoot a deer from inside the Shine Shack
I love
at
it.
some point in the next 2 months.
That's awesome, man. Some rich history in those mountains for sure. Of all kinds of history. Dark history, cool history. The dark history is cool history, but like that's pretty neat stuff, man. Fantastic. So you got out of the military, and what route did you end up taking that landed you into the outdoor media space? Was BHA like the first place you went, or did you go somewhere before BHA?
Yeah, so BHA was the first place that paid me enough that I didn't have to do anything else. So when I got out of the military, I took a entry-level sales and marketing job for a construction company based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Great time. That allowed me the kind of the space and the I guess mentorship to kind of learn about the civilian world, and people that get your master's degree, you need to get this. So I went and I got my master's degree while I was there, and that allowed me to get a much better job doing as like a director level of marketing for the North Central region, which was like the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and like a little sliver in Northern Illinois, which was a lot of fun. I mean, it's a $15 billion plus publicly traded company. Learned a lot, and I was always kind of writing just on the side, just something to do. See something interesting in the deer stand or in the duck blind, you write it down, make a little story out of it, but I never sent anything anywhere. Anyway, and was doing that and sent something during COVID because that was the first time I worked from home. So when I was like 2020. Yeah, 2020, I guess, whenever COVID happened, I sent my first article. I actually sent it over to Meat Eater. It was a fishing article about ice fishing, and they picked it up. They called me, emailed me, like, really, really liked it, and was like, hey, man, I don't want to... The guy at the time, Miles Nolte, who's still very active in the outdoor space and the fishing industry, he's like, hey, I think you may have missed your calling. Like, I don't want to tell you to quit your job and do this full time, but it may be something to look at. So I took him seriously, and I started writing a little bit more and submitting things a little bit more, and I started getting picked up different places, and then I got asked to be on a couple different volunteer boards in the state of Wisconsin where I lived at the time. Like, I think I was a delegate to the Wisconsin Wildlife Federation. Wisconsin has something cool called the Wisconsin Conservation Congress, and one thing led to another. They asked me to run for the 5th district, so I ran and I got elected, and I served there for 4 years. Then I got put on the board at the Wisconsin Sharp-tailed Grouse Society, and while all this is happening, I'm just writing articles that seemed cool to me at the time, like no real strategy behind it. Yeah, and I'd always been a member of like Ducks Unlimited, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Mule Deer Foundation, mostly out of just what do they really call conservation karma. Like, if I give them $35 a year, maybe I'll have a better duck season or a better elk season, and just like a superstition. But yeah, and then BHA was starting this Armed Forces Initiative deal where they want to try and get the veteran community out. They had a couple of veterans on the board, like a board of directors, and thought that the backcountry, these wild places, wild things, were helpful for the military community, and I agreed. So I did 5 camps as a volunteer. We went muskie fishing, duck hunting on Green Bay, did a pheasant hunt, did a whitetail hunt, and a on a rough grouse hunt, all in Wisconsin. Um, and then I got offered the full time job to, hey, do you want to run this for the nation? And I took it, and took the $100,000 pay cut from my cushy marketing job in corporate, and went over to BHA to kind of start this program nationwide. I think it worked out. I mean, 5 years later, I think they still do 1,500 veterans a year, different trips all across the country, different places. So I definitely look back on that with a little bit of pride.
Yeah, as you should. And I could tell you, it impacted my life significantly. Obviously, you and I got to go to Alaska together, and
Mhm.
um, I hope that wasn't a trip of a lifetime, and that like I want to get back and do more Alaska stuff. But uh, that was definitely one of the biggest adventures I'd ever been on, and I mean, we're sitting just over 2 years out of it, and I still can't not think about it every day.
Yep.
Um,
I talk about it every I was talking about it earlier today with another veteran friend of mine that I hadn't talked to in a while, and he ended up reading one of the articles I wrote about it, and he's just like, "Hey man, hey, how could we go do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, you got $2,200. Like it's relatively inexpensive. Like I mean, $2,200 isn't a small amount of money, but it's something you could do every couple of years and not feel bad about."
Absolutely. I mean, Alaska was great. What I've gotten to do here in Idaho was fantastic. And obviously, I shared on social media today, as of this recording, that I have stepped back from my leadership role at the Idaho AFI, but just not out of any ill will. It's just I'm moving, kind of like you, moving on to some different things
Yeah.
that call me. But it's an impactful program, and I know you've impacted thousands of veterans. Your leadership has gotten chapters, for lack of better words, stood up on. I mean, how many active installations? How many states? It's all over the country and into Canada too. We're international,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's
It
huge.
I mean, yeah, I'm the same way. Like I stepped away, I didn't step out. Like I still host or help host 3 or 4 events a year. That may be a little much. I think it's more like 2 events a year now. But I mean, life gets busy, and you got to hand that change in leadership is good for any organization.
Yeah,
Like we have qualified people; they're in the right places. Sean's on the board; he's doing the right things. Like I'm still going to head up this December and take probably 15 veterans on a sea duck hunt on the North Atlantic Ocean, which is always fun. It's one of the most fun trips I do. I'd do it, but I mean, selfishly, I'd do it even if I weren't taking veterans out. But that's one of the coolest spots to introduce veterans to the outdoors at all. Just because I mean, you get stationed in a place like Boston, and you think it's over. Like I'm never going to hunt again, and it turns out it's pretty good hunting. Like you just got to get on the ocean. That the ocean becomes your public land. So
that's awesome.
pretty neat.
Yeah, it's great, man. What the organization does for veterans, and I think Sean and I are probably going to do another episode too, just dedicated to talking about AFI and its mission. But it's good stuff,
Sure.
man. And I know a lot of people appreciated what you did there. Um, but times moved on, and you ended up at the Mule Deer Foundation. So, like, what happened with that? How did that work out?
Yeah, I mean, I'd been writing for 5 years at that point when I took the promotion, I guess, for lack of a better word. I mean, there's more money, more responsibility. I'm going to call it a promotion, but no, I anyway, they needed somebody to edit their magazine, but they also needed somebody to help out with marketing, and I kind of had the marketing wherewithal from past roles and enough writing experience that I can come in and take over the magazine. And then yeah, did a couple magazines for them. Three last year in 2024, and then December of 2024 we launched the Blacktail Deer Foundation. Done a bunch with that for the marketing and all the copy, graphic design, podcast, anything there. And yeah, and then so last February I took over for the podcast, and I'm now the host of the podcast over there. I guess if I was going to offer advice on how does somebody do that? How does somebody copy me? Be in the right place at the right time and have the right skill set. I mean, it's not a lot of these things. Like I don't know, you can't really make them happen. You can just same as like I don't know, you can't kill deer from the couch. It may look like a really shitty day outside, but if you're out there, you're doing the right things. Good things are going to happen. So keep writing. You keep I don't know, keep people interested in the words you have to say, and you do public speaking events. You volunteer with the right places, and I don't know. Somebody liked it enough to give me the magazine and said, Trevor, do this. And it's worked out. We've gotten a couple of awards on the Mule Deer Foundation magazine. I'm hoping to build the Blacktail Deer Foundation magazine to something special as that develops. And we'll see. It gets better every issue.
That's fantastic. And I like that you have a lot of hope for it and say it gets better every issue. Because one of the things that I told you I wanted to ask you was, is there, especially for somebody that might be like seriously looking at outdoor writing as a career choice, which I think they should know by now, you're not going to get rich, at least at first.
No.
I don't think Trevor Hubbs is a rich man yet, but you love what you do, and you do a lot of great for conservation. But what's the future for written word as we kind of get into this digital age of TikToks and Facebooks?
It's interesting. Just as a whole, the people's attention span is getting shorter and shorter. I mean, you have social media, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's just the reality of the situation. Long form media is going down. You see multiple magazines cutting their word counts. So like it used to be a featured article is 2,000 to 2,500 words. You can turn in 3,000 words, but people are going to think it's a little long. And for that, you get, $1,500, $1,000, something pretty, at the time, I thought substantial. But now a lot of magazines are saying, hey, no, we really want something closer to 1,700 words, not 2,000, definitely not 2,500. We want 1,700 words. You got to tell that story fast, and you got to keep it engaging. And for your trouble, we're going to give you $400. So, I mean, it's definitely going away. If you want to make this your whole career as a writer, you're not going to do it on the freelance side. Freelance can get you started, but the volume you would have to write. I mean, think about $400 a story. How long does it take to write 1,700 words that are fully edited and ready to submit? For me, if I'm moving and I'm on the right amount of coffee with no distractions, about an hour to do 1,700 words that is like ready to go with photography sourced. Like that's another thing is it used to be, oh yeah, we want you to write this article. Here's a photographer. Go get it. We're going to pay both of you. Now, like you got to be your own photographer. I mean, you can still do that and partner with a photographer, but now you're splitting $300. Doesn't make it worth the while for either of you. So you got to be a writer, a photographer, a little bit of a videographer, and a self-promoter. The best way to do that is to get involved with as a staff writer. There's still like staff writer jobs are going away slowly. Like you're not going to have, even look at the local newspaper, you don't have just a conservation writer for the local newspaper unless you are just the most rural of rural communities with a big deer hunting population. A lot of times your sports writer is going to have to cover that, right? So if you want to write about deer hunting, duck hunting, and you want to go to the local paper with that talent, you're going to also have to write about high school baseball or college sports or something else. And you're probably going to have to cover a third or a fourth thing. Just obituaries or respond to letters to the editor. Like, be versatile, but definitely get on staff somewhere. So, like, I just hired one. We call them an associate editor, but really they're a staff writer, and they cover all of my conservation stuff. So they pick up a camera, video camera, their cell phone. They have their drone license, and they're out in the field with our 30 biologists. Just reporter in the field. Yeah, they write our conservation articles. They write blogs. They also capture social media content, put that together, edit it, do their own photography. Like they are a catch-all, and just an interview process for that person. I mean, it's been 2 years. I'm looking for the right one because it didn't really benefit us to hire the wrong one. And we saw a lot of really, really good candidates, but almost no perfect candidates. Like some people were great writers, bad photographers. Some people were really good photographers in videography, but they couldn't necessarily edit. And you need somebody that does all of it.
Gotcha.
So I think that's the future. You have to be able to do all of it. You have to stay flexible. Don't lock yourself down to just hunting or just fishing. Certainly don't lock yourself down to being a duck hunting guy or a bird hunting guy or a gun dog guy. That's all going away. You got to be able to write about all kinds of stuff, including adventure travel, surfing, rock climbing, hiking, camping. Yeah, it's, I don't want to paint too bleak of a picture. I mean, you could definitely still get into writing. You need to be prepared that your writing is not just going to be long format print editions. You're going to have digital blogs you have to write. You're going to have to do a lot of copywriting for advertising for your own magazine or organization that you work for. you're also going to have to be your own advocate on social media. Be the advocate for the organization on social media. I mean, if you look at my social media now, every other post, if not 3/4 of the post, is really for the mule deer population. Or the Mule Deer Foundation. It's just adding more visibility to that. Like you, kind of a slave to the company a little bit. I mean, they're paying you, so you're not a slave at all. But like, you don't necessarily, you lose the benefit of self-expression.
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
for like what Trevor wants to talk about, not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about the roadless rule. We're talking about the new mule deer and blacktail deer regulations happening in various states. We're talking about promoting the podcast or the new YouTube channel or whatever we're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That's such great insight, especially kind of coming from a fellow like you who's kind of more in the younger generation. A lot of the outdoor riders that, I listen to their podcast and stuff like that and follow, they've been doing it for, 20, 30 years. So it's really cool to get some of that fresh perspective on what's happening right now and your roadmap to it. So I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. I mean, no, one of the coolest things about, so our Blacktail magazine is digital, right? The cool part about digital is I can see how long you stay on each page, how many people log in to view it, how long they view a hunting article versus a conservation article versus a recipe. Are they reading the whole thing? Are they clicking on anything within it? I can't see that in a paper magazine. So it's a lot easier to justify the cost when I say to the CEO or the chief marketing officers, yeah, we had 900 people read the magazine this week, and 14 of them clicked on this link, which took them to, OnX's membership page or one of our sponsors, because then we could take that back to OnX and say, look, I just made you 14 new customers. How much is that worth to you? Pay me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Versus a paper magazine, you're kind of guessing.
Right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I mean, it makes total sense. Obviously, I can see the stats for the podcast, right? Kind of on that note, what type of content, topics are kind of your hot topics that people seem to be engaged in the most? Is it conservation? Do they want to hear hunting stories? They only want to read about, people killing 200-inch muleys? Like, what are people interested in?
What? And so that's going to change based on the audience you're looking at. So one of the most, I don't know, I spend too much time digging into what our readers think and how long they stay on each page and why. And then I can dig into that reader's demographics a little bit. Like, so if you sign up to be a member, I know how old you are. I know what state you're in. Like, if you're one of our subscribers. So I can tell you, like, from our magazine, most of the people that read our magazine are over 45 years old. They're white males. They are, and when I say most, I mean like 90+%. Over 45 white males making over $165,000 a year. They hunt mule deer first, then Rocky Mountain elk, then antelope. Sometimes upland is in there. Primarily rifle hunters, maybe 35 to 40% bow hunters. Right. And most of those people reading that magazine are reading the conservation stories first. Like, they'll flip past the photo essay, all that stuff, conservation stories. They want to learn, what am I doing with their money? What is the Mule Deer Foundation doing with their money? From what we're doing, what is going to make them more successful in the field next year? Now, when we take it down an age bracket and we look from 25 to 45, it's only about 75% men and 25% women. And then it's not a huge, so we call it 7% minority, which is not a huge chunk. But it's more than some people, more than we used to have, way more than we have in the 45 and up group. So that's Pacific Islanders, African Americans, Hispanic American, and anybody who is not Caucasian white, basically. Gotcha. So now, like, we're getting a little bit more diverse. And if we come down to below 25, it gets wildly more diverse. But those bottom two age brackets aren't interested so much in the conservation stories. They're interested in, how do I become a better mule deer hunter? The how-to, the tips and tricks, the gear reviews, and then stories of success in the field. It's not so much, what's interesting is, it's not I just shot the world record mule deer buck in Nevada and here's how I did it. It's more, hey, I just went into a brand new area and I was successful and here's how I did it. It's not so much, it's a good story. It all has to be a good story. You can't just get out there and blabber, but it is a lot more focused on how you find success in a new spot or in a difficult situation than it is, everything went completely right, and I got this 200-inch mule deer after putting in points for 10 years.
Gotcha.
And that's the exact kind of story that our older folks like to read. They like to read about everything going right, just like the dream hunt, how wonderful the lodge was, how wonderful the food was, how easy it was to find the deer. Like everything is perfect. And part of that is, there's some hopefulness there. Like the 45 and up folks, their knees are failing, their back's failing. They can't do 8 miles in, the Bitterroot Mountains anymore. Like they want to hear stories about shooting a big deer without going through the joint crippling effort. Whereas our younger folks are more into that joint crippling effort. They want something that's going to take them and put them ahead of their peers who are all looking for the same class of animal, So it's interesting.
Yeah, that is super interesting, and trying to like think of it from my perspective. And, I think maybe because I feel kind of a little bit between those age classes that you listed off, I'm a little bit like, I like both, I like to hear, I really I like a good adventure story, I think is what I look for. I want to know what the adventure was behind the story. I like the how-to stuff for sure, especially my podcast content. But for me, it's I think if I had to pick one thing I'm after as a reader or a listener, I love a good story full of adventure. Like that's what I seek, and hence why I told you about I like to go on river trips, because rivers seem to be chock full of adventure, and boat issues when you're not a boat mechanic are really fun and stuff like that. But that's
absolutely,
awesome.
Yeah, and that's to my detriment as an editor. Is that's what I like too. I like the long form adventure stories. I like to learn about failure. I don't even care if you get a deer or whatever. Like it's sometimes a better story when you don't. Like I want to see suffering, which it sounds bad, but I want the nitty gritty. I want to feel your emotions that you're feeling at the time on the hunt. I want to be able to feel those while reading it, and I want to sit down for an hour and I really want to read it. I mean, I do this for a living, so I have the ability to do that with 4 or 5 magazines a week, of sit down and read the whole thing for an hour. But yeah, I understand other people they're on their phones or their tablets, and they're just trying to burn through as much as they can, as fast as they can.
I mean, we're in a fast-paced world, so fast-paced information is like what people look for. But and it's funny too, because you talked about like you don't think that necessarily getting your deer or your elk is always important part of the story, but I think we both know that for a lot of readers, like that's what they're looking for. I'm assuming magazine editors as well. I know the first time I submitted to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, the Bugle magazine, I was like, I had killed an elk, but I wanted to write about one of the more impactful things for me, which was my first elk hunt where I didn't get an elk and what that meant to me. And when I saw this, the first time I saw an elk walking down this river bottom, sloshing in the water, and how beautiful it was, and how I knew in that moment I'm going to be an elk hunter for the rest of my life. And I sent that, I detailed all the emotion and tried to paint this beautiful picture of that moment, and with kindness and gentle ease, the editor was like, nah, dude, like, write me back when you kill an elk. He said it a lot nicer than that, but that's what he was getting at. Like, let me know when you kill an elk, and we'll get there, son.
I've known a couple of the editors over at Bugle. Sometimes, like, that's probably my biggest weakness, and I don't know, maybe that's everybody's weakness. Here's another tip for anybody who wants to do this: is you're going to get told no. You're going to get told no 100 more times than you're going to get told yes. It doesn't mean the piece is bad. Sometimes the piece is bad, but it doesn't always mean it's bad. I'll give you an example. I submitted something as a published author and 24 or writer, whatever, 24 magazines, editor of 2 magazines myself. I got turned down by Bugle 6 months ago for a story I wrote that has since been published somewhere else, and I've gotten so much positive feedback over it. People loved it, and then including a senior board member for Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, who will remain nameless, sent me an email, very nice email, like, "Hey man, this was really great. I'd love to see some of this in Bugle," which is always fun.
Yeah.
Nothing against Bugle. I know Heather over there does a great job. She's got a little support staff now. They're growing a team, and I say all that to say, editors are not perfect. We make mistakes. I've turned down articles that I think are going to be great, but that I can't run for one reason or another. It doesn't fit with the OnX ad that I've got to put right next to it, or it doesn't fit with Sitka Gears, who just gave me $3,000. I've got to make sure their stuff looks good. I can't run a First Light. article right next to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times it's something that you're not even seeing as the writer is the reason you're getting turned down. It's
Right.
so just keep out there, keep submitting. Don't get, downtrodden because an editor said no, or worse, didn't say anything to you. They're also busy.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to just keep trucking, right? The next article
Yeah.
I submitted to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation got published, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were awesome about it. And it wasn't a trophy elk hunt; it was a cow elk. And but the guy loved the story and how I framed it, and that worked out that time, right? And that I appreciate that because that ended up being the first time I got published. And I've only been published a handful of times. I'm not nearly as acclaimed as Trevor Hubbs, but we all got to have goals and heroes. But yeah, no, I think that's the best advice, even from my very novice little bit of experience, is just keep trucking, because eventually you're going to get better, and eventually you're going to strike the right tone at the right time with the right editor. So.
Yeah, I mean, think about how many posts do you scroll past on social media, like that you didn't like the first 2 seconds of. A ton,
Exactly.
thousands. Same thing as an editor. Like, I try to read everything front to back. Sometimes I'm reading it because I have to read. I have to read 4 stories tonight, and I try and for the author, I try and make sure I'm in the right headspace to be open minded about it. But yeah, sometimes I'm just in a grumpy mood, and you had too many spelling errors, or you missed a comma, and I'm just like, nope, you're done. And that's, shouldn't do that, but I've done that before, and I've done that. I've had also the reverse. I've had a feeling where I really think this is a trash story, and I don't want to run it at all. And then I come back 2 weeks later, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to run it. And then I get a bunch of positive feedback from the readers, like, hey, this was really good. Thank you for including it. And so
Fantastic.
you never know. You're dealing with people. It's not a robot.
Yep.
There's no right answer.
Yeah. People, and you're getting paid to put together a specific product, so you have to be on the lookout for what's going to suit your customer and your bosses. So,
Everybody,
that's awesome. Thanks
everybody
for
works
sharing
for somebody.
Yeah.
No, I'm always here for advice. I mean, you're first starting your podcast, so I don't mind. Like, anybody listening, just shoot me an email. He'll put my email in the show notes, but it's just my name, thubbs@muledeer.org. Happy to throw some advice your way or hop on a call if you have a specific piece you want me to read and just tell you where it sucks or where it's great. Happy to do that too.
Fantastic. Well, sweet, man. Like, let's we'll get into the Mule Deer Foundation, everything real quick. We're going to take a very short break and get right back to us. Thanks again. And if this resonates with you, I want to welcome you to the tribe and encourage you to share this podcast with your friends. Hit subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Pursuing Freedom Outdoors. And if you or someone you know has a great story about life or the wilderness, I want to share it. You can shoot me a message on Instagram or email me with all inquiries and questions at thomas@pursuingfreedomoutdoors.com. That's Thomas, THOMAS, at pursuingfreedomoutdoors.com. Until next time, get out there, get after it, and pursue freedom in the outdoors.